550 AM, 97.5 FM, and 95.5 FM. Online and by app. The Morning Drive.
Did we get TV in there? My 16, yeah, we get on My 16 too if you want to catch us there. It's 23 minutes in front of 8 o'clock in the morning at News Talk KCRS. You have been listening and watching on CBS7, I suspect, for the last while. A story that's been really building and growing about Sharyland Electric. And the guy who's put that story together and actually worked through much of it, even going to Austin, I think you're going back. Matt Rist is with us this morning from CBS7. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Robert.
Tell me what is the deal with Sharyland that's calling? We had a lot of phone calls here about it as well, but from your reporting, what's going on with Sharyland?
Well, here's what we know so far. It's a little bit of a complicated issue. We became aware, much like you guys, when a viewer contacted us, asked us for help with just higher than normal electricity bills, bills that had doubled, in some cases tripled. And what it all boils down to is, in many cases, a delivery charge. Delivery rates recently increased significantly for these folks, and it all kind of dates back from what we can see to a 2013 case that changed the way rates were going to be for residential usage there.
Okay.
Now, Matt, I recently got an electric bill from my provider, and tacked onto the bill was an additional $135. And I questioned them and said, "What is that?" And they said, "That's a fee from Encore." And I said, "Well, I've never had that before." And they said, "Well, you're going to have to go ahead and pay it. We'll research it, and if it's wrong, it'll be credited back." And in fact, it was credited back. Is that what we're dealing with here? Is a combination of delivery service to the electric service company, or is this Sharyland themselves, who are the electric providers, tacking on additional fees?
Well, it's really hard to say 100% definitively. For the most part, I think in this case with Sharyland serviced customers, which is, like Martin County, Howard County, Midland County, they say kind of rural-ish areas. For the most part, I think it boils down to a significant increase in Sharyland serviced areas delivery charges, an increase that's not seen on any of the other providers like Encore. Now, there may be some cases where an Encore is accidentally charging you more or charging you some kind of weather-related fee, but it's not yet clear that that's what it is across the board.
Matt, you went to the PUC, right? With this, don't
yes.
they regulate? Do they regulate? They regulate Sharyland too, right? I mean, they regulate all of this.
Yes, sir. So the PUC, whenever all these rates were decided, it all went through the PUC. So we started there. We went to them. We brought them literally because we got hundreds of bills into the newsroom. And since our questions and doing that, they've launched an inquiry. So they're looking into it.
Yeah, well, once you start talking about it on TV, of course, Matt hosts a program or a segment on CBS7 called On Your Side, where people are actually invited to call in with stuff like this. And so I'm guessing now that we have Lisa on the phone. Lisa Busher is with us on the phone as well to talk a bit about the perspective of being a resident. I guess you're a Sharyland customer. Is that right, Lisa?
Yeah, since 1986.
Since 86. And, of course, Sharyland, the history of that, this is the old Caprock, right? The old Caprock Electric Co-op?
Right. Well, some of it, yeah. They bought a couple of other co-ops, too, around Celeste and Brady and different places. But, yes, around here you're talking old Caprock.
Okay. So, and you've kind of taken on a leadership role, I guess, in this as a community organizer, is how Matt was describing it to me. So what is your position? What have you done?
Well, what we're trying to do mostly is just educate the public as to what we have found out. And what we have kind of found out is you can pull a chart from TXU. They're one of the ones that provide it. It shows the transmission and distribution charges of all the PUC-regulated entities across the state of Texas. And these are all just the distribution providers like Sharyland and Encore. And what you'll find if you look at those charts is everyone is approximately 3.3 or 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour just across the board. And Sharyland's were raised to 8.1 cents per kilowatt hour. So there's part of the problem right there is that we just had that kind of an increase over about a 6-8 month period.
What are you looking at, Lisa, in terms of the impact on your bill?
Double. I mean, they're just doubling it. And you'll find a lot of people now, their transmission and distribution charges are more than the actual energy charge.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot.
Lisa, tell them about what was the bill we saw that was like a storage unit that used maybe 300 kilowatt hours for a whole month. They were charged.
Nobody's been able to figure that out. There's been some things. It's been real interesting because one of the things that a Sharyland representative actually stated on a news interview was that they had to raise residential rates in order to compensate and lower some non-residential rates, which nobody's really sure exactly what non-residential means other than commercial.
I guess.
Yeah, I guess. So we've seen some bills from some people, though, that what we're finding is a lot of people now have their private storage buildings or water wells have been put on private, just individual meters. Each one has its own meter now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have 3 meters in our house now.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. And so they can charge a distribution charge on every one of those meters.
Yes.
But a lot of those meters, they're putting commercial billing on. So you have to pay a commercial rate on them, even though they're on your private residential property. And I've seen some, I can't even figure out what it's about. One girl's energy charge was like $22 and some odd dollars, but then her distribution charge was over $400.
Oh, my heavens.
So, well, and that's not a norm, but that one was weird, and she's got to try to figure out what happened, and we don't know. I mean, honestly.
All right. Let me, because I'm guessing, Matt, you've tried to reach out to Sharyland. Maybe you have visited with officials that have given you something, but I mean, if we're talking, these are county residents for the most part, their expenses to produce or to distribute, if you will, electric power, it might be more expensive than it would be for a city. Would that be reasonable to say, or?
Right, and Sharyland says, part of the reason why rates increased is because of the fact that we are rural, and the fact that I think whenever they were under Caprock, the cost to customer was not necessarily realistic. The co-op took in a little more of those costs or distributed it differently. Sharyland has been, I got to say, for the most part, responsive to our media inquiries, kind of pointing back to, well, the rate case was approved by the PUC, and that's where, folks are having problems, and that's where a lot of this stems from. So that's why we've kind of pushed a lot of people to file, grievances with the PUC, send them their bills, because that's what they're looking at as part of their inquiry.
Well, somebody out in the community, folks, I guess, are you having meetings? You having go-to sessions? What's happening on your end, and when's the next one coming up?
We're trying to schedule another meeting in town in Midland for Sunday the 19th. We do have a Facebook group. We have a forum, so we have a couple of different venues for people online. Where they can look at information and visit and whatever.
What's it called on Facebook?
Well, we have a Caprock Sharyland Customers for Real Power to Choose on Facebook, and from there you can join our forum, which is where we try to keep documents and things for people to read.